allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
On the closed session agenda, I would like to take the section on Peel, on the cards, P cards, off the consent and move it preferably after the consent agenda, if that would be acceptable.
We already moved it and we put it under new business.
Okay, fine. Okay. Thank you.
So for a motion to approve the agenda as presented with item 10.7 moved to new business.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the October 14th, 2019 agenda with the addition of moving item 10.7 to new business.
Second.
All right. So there just made some slight minor changes to the agenda. We're going to put the board member reports first and then ask Alan to give some superintendent highlights at the beginning, and then he'll still give his regular report, and you'll have time for questions later, and we move the consent agenda now a little bit. So, all right. All right. Report of board members. Anyone? Oh, Amy, can you vote on that?
Okay.
All right. Anybody? Ms. Klein?
I was able to go to the MSBA conference a few weeks ago, which was a lot of fun to learn a lot of things. One of my favorite highlights was we had Wes Moore as a general speaker on, was that Saturday? I can't remember, Saturday. And so something kind of neat about that is at Raytown South, they have requested to use his book in their curriculum last year, and it was approved. So we were able to take 2 books with us and let him know, Wes Moore know what our district is planning on doing. And so he signed those for our teachers, for both Mr. Bourne and Ms. Sumter out at Raytown South, and I was able to give them to them this afternoon during parent-teacher conference, and they thought it was a pretty cool thing. So I just want to thank Dr. Huff and Dr. Markley for helping to put that together and getting me a seat next to him to be able to talk to him. So that was pretty cool.
Okay. On October 4th, I went over to New Trails and read to several classes, and then I visited the food truck at Blue Ridge. They had a food truck there for the staff. I guess it was just for the staff, right? No?
It's part of the wellness, one of our teachers that oversees wellness.
Oh, okay. Well, it was a healthy food truck. It was Healthy Hatch or something. Anyway, it was very healthy. And it was good. That was fun. And then on October 10th, not as a board member or a parent or a teacher, but as grandma, I attended Norfleet Family Math Night / Grandparents Night / Book Fair. And we played math games in the classroom and played pick-up sticks in the gym and bought books at the book fair, of course, in the library, and had peach cobbler in the cafeteria. It was a lot of fun. It was crowded and it was fun, and just yay for grandparents.
All right, good. Anybody, any other board members?
Is this the time to discuss the goals of the, no?
No.
Okay.
All right, I'll just mention a couple things. I was at the school board conference too, and it was really a good time to see some other sessions and hear from good speakers and get a lot of good ideas. So hopefully we can make contact with Wes Moore, because he really was great speaker and has a great story. And the groundbreaking for Herndon Culinary Center, and that was good attendance, good time, and I look forward to seeing that building go up. Board members, you have this little card in front of you, and I didn't know we were going to have this tonight, but Travis, thank you for getting this. You don't have to use this if you want to, but a while back, toward the beginning of the year, Tim always puts out a little thing, come and eat, but I had an idea, like I say, you don't have to use this, but if you want to keep track of the buildings you visit this year, you take this with you, and I suggest eating in the cafeteria. Punch this out and you kind of keep track of where you've been, see how many you visited. It's a good way to do that, and if you eat in the cafeteria, it's also, sometimes good to get a feel of what's going on in the building when you do that. And I don't know, we'll see who has the most punches at the end of the year. Maybe we'll let you guys decide on the meal or something for one of the meetings, whoever has the most visits. But you don't have to use that, but you got to thank you for Travis for getting that done and taking care of it. Thank you for Tim for doing that too. So, all right, any other board members want to make a report?
I like the little fork and knife on the bar. Nice touch.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I didn't even notice that. That's pretty clever. Is that our new official emblem?
Food service.
Dr. Young's been using it for a while.
Okay. I didn't even notice that. Well, if it revolves around food, then I'm for it, so. All right. Dr. Markle, superintendent highlights.
And just a couple of highlights. Most of the information will be in the report on down the agenda. In the last 2 weeks, I was happy to have my first meeting with the Student Council Executive Committees. I see one of those members here tonight. I always enjoy that because we come together to talk about district issues, state issues, and how we can improve the culture in our buildings. So that kicked off well. If you did not know, Amy Barrett, the registrar over at Raytown High, was awarded the Counselor Advocate of the Year, and she'll be honored in Jefferson City at the State Capitol on Saturday, November the 23rd, through the Missouri School Counselors Association. And then my last one, talked to Dr. Bruton, and we've done some research. I know Mr. Luke has looked into this. The Raytown High Girls Golf Team won the conference this year, and we could not find anywhere where they had ever won it before. So this was the first time that they've won it. I was thinking to myself, maybe Mr. Toady and I, we should probably go get lessons from these ladies. Obviously, they're pretty good golfers, but wanted to give a shout out to them because that's pretty special to win it for the first time. That's it, Mr. President.
Good, thank you. All right. Presentations and recognitions.
All right, Did You Know? We have 2 theater productions from our 2 high schools. Raytown South High's production of 9 to 5 will take place November 7th through the 9th at the auditorium at 7 p.m. all 3 days. Raytown High School Theater Department will present The Addams Family November 21st through the 23rd at 7 p.m. in their auditorium. The Special Education Department has an upcoming employment panel in which experts will answer questions from students in the Functional Skills Program along with their families, and will feature speakers from the Kansas City Vocational Rehabilitation Office, Ability KC, and Easter Seals. So families will learn more about job opportunities as well as resources for employment support in the Kansas City area. You can see the photo here, bicycles on glass. So Laurel Hill students in grades 3rd through 5th we're learning some bicycle safety and getting some exercise out and about around the school. Battle of the Brains, students in the Challenge program participated in Burns and McDonald's Foundation's Battle of the Brains competition, in which they got to design a science center. And so they were one of 55 districts in the area that got to design the science center, and the one that will be selected will be a part of a $1 million exhibit in Science City. So we'll find out about whether or not they're selected. And then the photos below you see are photos from the groundbreaking, which took place on October 3rd. We look forward to the opening, in which there will be food. With me tonight, in June, we mentioned Larry Wilson being selected as governor of BOE State. And so we have Larry to receive his official plaque tonight, so I'll invite him up. Governor is the highest attainable office at Missouri BOE State. And with us tonight is Jack Laskowitz. Did I say that? Yes! To present him with the plaque and talk a little bit more about the governor's duties.
Your younger student. Well, the board, thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to come here and recognize Governor Larry. So I know a lot of folks here know a lot about the American Legion Missouri BOE State program, but for those that don't, every year almost 1,000 young men, rising high school seniors from around the state of Missouri gather together in Warrensburg at the University of Central Missouri. And for a week they participate in this lab environment where they get to learn about how our democracy works at the local and the state levels by really doing that and building a fully functioning city, county, and statewide government themselves. They operate a two-party system, nationalists and federalists. They learn what it takes to develop a platform and slate candidates and then go and campaign and elect those candidates over the course of this week. This year was an exciting year. We had a vigorous statewide election, and everyday young men also publish a newspaper, and what I'm showing here is the Friday version, the issue. We've got a whole lot here if anyone wants to take some home. But it says Mr. Wilson, because Larry here was elected as an independent writing candidate, so he had to go above and beyond to get his recognition and name out there for the young men of the state of Missouri and BOE States to elect him. And I tell you what, on Thursday when his name was called, among 950 young men, an uproar of applause and cheering for Governor Wilson occurred. There were 8 young men from this school district that represented your school district really well at BOE State this year, and we encourage Larry as he goes back to his high school not only to display this at his high school this year, which dates back to the 1938 Missouri BOE State governor, but also to encourage and to invite the next slate of 2020 BOE Staters to head to Warrensburg this June. So I'd ask for a big round of applause for Governor Wilson.
We'll let Governor Wilson say a couple words. Since he's a politician now.
Thank you. Oh, well, thank you guys for coming to present the plaque to me today. It definitely means a lot because me and Betty have been talking for so long about that civic pact and like you guys coming as a whole, so I just want to say thank you. I also want to say thank you to everyone in here as well, because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have been able to go to BOE State and represent our school as well as the district as a whole. And then back to those, I really want to say, I know Donovan's not here, but I want to say a huge thank to him because we did, like at BOE State, like it's kind of running your own like politics and your own like system as a whole. And we kind of just out of everyone there, like us two being both from Raytown, we kind of just realized the issues that we had with the political systems there and like how that we think that we should solve them. So what he did on the back of it was put me with a couple of like things that we thought would most influence next year's BOE State as a whole. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, especially you guys for coming all the way up to it. Thank you guys.
So how did it come about that you decided to put your name in the hat as a third-party candidate?
So I decided that I wanted to be third-party candidate because at the state elections, I was watching how they were going, and then I talked to some of my other friends, because I have friends from the Missouri Association of Student Councils who went as well, so I was talking to them and seeing how like they were thinking about their state meetings or whatever, And so once I got like a feel for like what both of them were, they were kind of running on the same platforms for each one of them. So what I kind of wanted to do was create my own platform, and then using that to like embed Boise State. So taking that and then running with that separately rather than running on both of their platforms, because there's probably no difference in between either one of them, and I'd rather not have the divide if it's not needed than have a divide based on color. But yeah, that was kind of the whole gist of me running. And then also it was the candidates that were running as well. I knew that I would be a better job for this year. Well, I knew well, not like that, but like the people who were running, like I knew that they wouldn't have been able to do the things that I knew I will be able to get done this year at Boise State. Whether it's because the taxes were a little bit too high on whenever we got there last year, whether it was because of simple things like some of the policies that we had to deal with as soon as we got there. So there was things that were smaller like that might not like matter too much in the grand scale that I'd be able to fix that I knew that they wouldn't be able to do. Also being bipartisan, working with both sides of the party is definitely going to come in handy this summer as well.
May we get a copy of your paper, of the paper,
Yes.
please?
And do you have some guests with you here tonight you want to introduce?
Oh, yes. I came with my mom.
Hi.
I don't say her first name, but her name's Andrew.
And where are you going to go to school?
I don't know. I don't know yet. It's on the side.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you again.
And we also had Dante Manning, but he had a last minute schedule, so we're going to make sure that we bring him in next month so that we can recognize him for his All-State and cheer him on, so that maybe we'll get an invite to the big game.
Or an autograph.
Or an autograph.
All right. Thank you very much. We didn't have anybody sign in that wanted to speak tonight, just one more time across. All right. All right, Dr. Markley, further report.
Okay. As always, any questions, please feel free to ask those. We're going to hit a couple of these. I believe Dr. Shelton wanted to speak to the membership count a little bit.
Exactly. You should have a document, or actually two documents within this agenda item. You'll notice that we are down 183 students from a year ago at this time. So in September of 2018, on membership day, we had 8,441 students. And on membership day this year, September 2019, we had 8,258. So it's down 183. Over a 5-year period of time, from 2015 September to 2019 September, we're down 727 students. The other document, it's a little different than what we've shown you in the past, and it just compares this year to last year. And you'll notice the difference is new trails and 3 trails is listed on here. This is the first year we are going to count early childhood in our ADA. And so to give you a comparison as you've looked at in the past, this document was prepared showing the drop from last year to this year. But moving forward, we'll be using this document more and more, because as we go further and further into the years, we'll be counting the early childhood students.
Questions? Okay. Dr. Huff is going to briefly discuss the Rediscover Therapeutic and Case Management Services.
We have a partnership with Rediscover, who is a local outfit, provides psychiatric services. They are going to be providing a staff member, full-time staff member for us that we're replacing at RSA. that will provide therapeutic case management. They're also, this is through a grant that they've written and received. They're also in the midst of writing another grant that should provide another 2 social workers for us, and we'll be placing those in the secondary buildings as needed. So we're very thankful for them to provide this service for us, and we see them as being a very, very good partner for us.
Rediscover has a presence in our community. They're located over next to the Jackson County Water Company on Blue Ridge Cutoff. Their facility, one of their main facilities throughout the region, but they do have a local presence. 8.10, the naming committee for Herman Culinary Lab. We'll be calling that committee together to discuss options for the name of that facility as we get closer to completion. So in the past, we've had a couple board members serve on that. Mr. Moore will call for any volunteers to serve on that with some other members of the community and staff. But be aware that that will be coming up. And the one that we wanted to spend the most time on tonight was 8.12, is the South High Auditorium update. And we had, I believe, Sandy here from Hollis & Miller to walk us through that. You have the presentation on your, should have that. Yeah, there it is.
Is this the updated version?
I don't know if this is the update. She has an option 4.
Did we have your option 4 version? Okay. So it is updated.
But we know that we have had some compromised walls at South High on the south side, and it has been repaired, and also on the west side, and we employed a system to shore up those walls, but we know that that's not a long-term solution. So about a month ago, we had a discussion about what a long-term solution might be, and that was to start looking at renovating or rebuilding the auditorium and see if we could do it inside of the bond issue that we have with dollars that are available to us. So we have asked Hollis & Miller to go in and look at some options for us, and we think that one of these options, you're going to see 4 options. We think one of these options are something that's worth exploring and possibly getting them to work on drawing up the plans for this, so maybe we could put this out to bid, and that's what Sandy's going to focus on today.
Good evening. So I'm Sandy Cochran with Hollis & Miller, seen several of you before. As Dr. Markley mentioned, we're going to walk through some options for South High School auditorium. Last time I was up in front of you, we did talk about the deterioration of some of the walls surrounding the auditorium. I brought some of that material tonight. If we need to review any of it again, if you have questions, feel free to ask. So, spring, summer of this past year, we worked on replacing the south stage wall at Raytown High, at South High. As part of that renovation, we realized that there were other walls within the auditorium that were deteriorating. So, as Dr. Markley said, we put a short-term solution to brace the west wall from any further movement or deterioration so that the school could continue to use that space, knowing that we would need to come up with a long-term solution. And those are some of the options we want to walk you through today. So we do have budget numbers attached to these options. So feel free to stop me and ask questions at any time. And then we do have handouts for those budget options if you have questions on how those numbers break out per square foot and etc. So we're familiar with the site at South High School. Auditorium is centrally located with that light orange box. The darker orange box is the gym that is directly to the east adjacent. The south wall is literally on the bottom, is the wall that we replaced this last spring, summer. The west wall is to your left, which is indicating the wall that's currently braced with the deadman system. North and then east are the other 2 walls that are also deteriorating, not as quickly as the west wall, but there is deterioration that we've been able to find. So the first option we want to review is the possibility of renovating the existing auditorium in its current location. So the auditorium right now is 11,000 square feet, not including the vestibule space. So that's if we took just the auditorium with the booth and the stage. Currently it's 11,000 square feet. This cost is showing if we renovate the remaining interior walls that we did not rebuild as part of the project this past summer. So that would include the west wall, the north wall, and the east. As part of that renovation, we would have to dig down past the grade level and renovate the foundations because they're not currently sized for additional load. So that is getting us to approximately $10,800,000 for that piece. That also gives us a renovated interior space, but maintaining most of the interior flow of that space and the roof structure. The second option is demolishing the existing auditorium space, slightly expanding it, renovating the ground level, and redoing the vestibule space, bringing us up to about 16,000 square feet for a budget cost of about $9,600,000. Now you'll notice that this cost is less than the first one that I showed, and the reason being is once you renovate a space, anytime you're dealing with existing conditions, that cost does go up slightly, especially at this magnitude, because we would have footings and foundations that we would have to build up to support that additional structure. The third option is the one that Dr. Markley asked about, is not necessarily option 4, we moved it up to option 3. But this is showing if we renovated the auditorium in its existing location, current footprint with no expansion. So what this is showing is portions of the south wall would come down, we would renovate each north, west, and east walls, but we would not be able to change the interior structure of the floor plan on the inside, and it would be minimal renovations of the vestibule space and the entry from the north. And this budget estimate is about $7 million. So as we're talking about the two high schools, there's something I wanted to bring up as far as these budgets are concerned. As you know, right now we're working on a renovation for Raytown High School for next summer for their theater and band areas. Their current auditorium sizes out to almost exactly 11,000 square feet. Now what that auditorium has that South does not have is a side support space that is stagecraft, dressing rooms, storage for stage areas directly next to that auditorium, which is shown in the green box on the left. And then it's also adjacent to their band and choir spaces. Now those stacked spaces of the dressing rooms and the stagecraft area, if you stack them, it's almost 5,000 square feet exactly, which gets us to 16,000 square feet. Now South High School doesn't have those support areas right now, so they're currently building their props and their stage areas on their stage. That's the space that they have, and that's how they utilize it. So as we're working on renovating Raytown High School, we are looking for options to bring parity between the two high schools with the possibility of this new addition or renovated space for South High. That includes technology as well. So the third option we wanted to discuss with you is the possibility of renovating and rebuilding the auditorium to that expanded footprint of 16,000 square feet, ground up, and then the possibility of doing an addition future for an auxiliary gym just to the north of that addition. Now, this is another piece that ties into that parity that I just brought up. Raytown High School has an auxiliary gym. South High School does not. So this is not an expansion you would necessarily have to do at the same time of this project, but as we're planning this addition, we can space plan to receive that addition at a later date. The expanded auditorium would again be the 6,000 square feet, and then the new auxiliary gym would be about 10,000 square feet just to the north. And that budget comes in about $14,100,000. So I wanted to show how that gym extension could possibly sit on site based on the existing floor plan. So this is South High School. This is their existing auditorium. The orange box is showing where the auditorium is with the stage, and then the slightly expanded footprint would be able to push into that adjacent courtyard. That's about how much space we would need, plus the vestibule space just to the north. Now included in some of these prices is the addition of restrooms. That was one of the requests that came through during the long-range planning process, was adding additional restrooms on this side of the building for the gym to use, as well as the auditorium, so that would be included. The green box to the north is where we could possibly put that gym addition. We would create a new entry on that side for both of those spaces, both for current and for future use. And then just as an idea of how that possibly could look on site, adjacent to the existing high school, not necessarily that your addition would look anything like this, but we wanted to give you an idea of how those roof lines could tie in together. So on the very far side, you're seeing that very tall roof high up. Computer programs for high school level are expanding as far as technology and capability, and part of that is installing fly-lofts. It gives them much more flexibility in production, and it just allows them to put on a better show. So this is something that is standard across the board that we are seeing nationwide. The next roof level down would be the level that you would see at the auditorium, and that's about 40 to 50 feet above ground. The fly loft being at about 60 or 65, and then we could possibly drop down for a vestibule that would be around 12 feet, possibly 15. So you'll see the gym just to the east side, just to get an idea of how that could tie in with that existing roof level. And then if we decided to add a gym, possibly later, this is an idea of what, again, how those roof lines could tie in an adjacency. Again, not saying that yours would look exactly like this, but we want to give you an idea of how it could possibly sit on that existing site. So we walk through the options just in a bullet point format for you one more time, so you get an idea of how those costs break out. So the first option, again, would be rebuilding those remaining walls in place. South wall would get slightly renovated to accept the new area around it. 11,000 square feet at $10,800,000. Option 2 would be the new auditorium in the existing location, slightly expanded to that 16,000 square foot footprint, again in the existing location at $9,600,000. And then option 3 is the new auditorium in the existing location, essentially same footprint at the exact 11,000 square foot option for $7 million. And then option 4 is the new auxiliary gym north of the existing gym for future, and the new auditorium in the existing location slightly expanded for $14,100,000. Any questions here?
We didn't have all the slides that you were showing, like the 7 million one. I didn't see that one in our information.
That was recently requested, and we added that today for you.
Okay.
But we don't have it.
No, you won't have it in, again, that was requested today, and we give you out your packets before then.
I have a question. Is this acceptable to ask a question?
Of course.
Were you going on to something?
I have more to show you, but please ask.
I'll wait.
Are you sure?
I don't want to interrupt.
I do have a question on this screen. So option 4 there, what's the square footage on the new auditorium in option 4?
16,000 square feet, and then the auxiliary gym would be 10,000.
So we're basically, option 4 is option 2 plus.
Exactly.
And is option 4 the one with the
gym
tall, with the fly area?
And option 2, yes.
Both of them?
As including the fly loft, yes.
Fly loft.
Yes. And Raytown High School does have a fly loft right now.
Option 3 wouldn't include that?
No.
Okay, I'll interrupt.
Go ahead.
So the preamble was that we have a short-term solution and a long-term need. So in the short-term solution, I assume that it's safe because we have, the risk I recall in a previous presentation was wind, that excessive wind can move a building that lacks stability. Did I say that right? Okay, so we are convinced that the solution we have currently will meet the test of the classical wind in Missouri during a school year. Is that fine? Is that fair?
That is correct. Now, if we have a high wind event, say a tornado or something along those lines.
Right.
I can't stand up to that.
No, I ignore it. I understand that. So the question that if we have a short-term solution that is stable, what is the long-term look like for a short-term solution? I mean, I can avoid putting brakes in my car, but eventually I'm going to. So what is the long-term expectation for a short-term solution? Is it indefinite? Is it 5 years? Is it inestimable?
So that type of system that's put in right now, we're estimating to get 3 to 5 years out of it.
How much?
3 to 5. And the reason we say that is it's not a permanent solution. It's not completely encapsulated within that wall. So when you build a wall like what you have at South High School, we have steel columns, and then we have CMU block that's in between. What's lacking in that wall is the reinforcement within that CMU block. There's no extra steel that ties it into those columns, and there's no added grout, which is a concrete compound that goes in between the blocks to give it more stability. So when you encapsulate A structure like that, you're protecting it from wind, protecting it from moisture, and age over time. When you expose steel structure like what is sitting out there right now, it's not intended to last 10, 20 years. It's bracing the wall in an uneven pattern. So over time, that will start to deteriorate because it's not part of that original structure, if that makes sense.
So, and I appreciate that. So be patient with me. I don't really understand engineering like Alonzo does. But, so when does a short term become apparent that the short-term solution is not the right solution? What I heard you say is 3 to 5 years, but how would you know it? How would you know that we're nearing the point where the short-term solution is near death?
I'm really glad you asked. We are actually observing that wall for you. So we have what is called strain gauges that we have installed on that wall, both interior and exterior, that's measuring microscopic type of movement that we can't necessarily see visibly. So we have some of our engineers on staff, they go out every couple weeks, they're looking at the structure, they're looking at the connection points to see if there's any sign of stress, if there's any sign of movement, and then we have gauges that they're able to measure to see if anything has moved. So we signed on to do that service for you to be able to monitor that wall. Now if we start to see movement, we're going to let you know immediately because honestly it can happen at any time. We don't know. And the point of putting those gauges in is to tell us before something happens to the point that it would be an immediate.
And one final question. We've reached the limit of available short-term solutions. I mean, this is it. There's nothing in the future that you can do to make a longer short-term support.
Short of the options that we're showing you here
Short of the options you
which
described.
is starting over, which is our recommendation.
Right. Yeah.
The only other thing that you could possibly do is encapsulate those walls where they're standing and build an entirely new structure around them.
Right.
Which, cost-wise, really doesn't make any sense based on what we're showing you today.
Okay, thanks.
Cost-wise, yes. Yes, sir. Any question?
I was gonna wait.
Okay. Okay. Is that it, Mr. Bennett?
No, I'm fine, thank you. It's excellent. I appreciate your information.
So the other pieces that we wanted to bring up as part of this renovation or possible addition in the future was some of the trends that we see in auditoriums and theater spaces moving forward. So media centers and libraries within schools are spaces that are increasingly becoming areas that can't be used, especially in secondary schools. Kids are on laptops, they're on computers, they're not reading physical books, and so we're renovating those media centers to become technology centers. We're putting in coffee shops. Those are now becoming gathering spaces that are not just centered around books. Auditoriums are following a similar trend in that schools want to use those large spaces for something other than just theater productions. And so this was something that we wanted to show you as we start to look at possible options for that new auditorium, is what we could do with flexible seating. So that could be an additional classroom space or something else that the school could use, robotics, other types of productions, etc., meeting spaces. So these are some projects that we've done in the last possibly decade or so where we're showing different options for flexibility. So a typical auditorium, you have a sloped floor and attached seating, and that you're stuck with it, that's it. Other options are to flatten that floor on the lower level and then still have telegraphed movable seating that you can push out of the way, and then all of a sudden you have two spaces that you can use independently. So you can have movable furniture like what you're seeing up on the upper left-hand corner, or you can have furniture that's fixed like on the lower right-hand, and then a mezzanine above where all that seating pushes back and you have a partition, and again, you have two separate spaces, one for theater and then one for a completely different classroom. So these are just options I wanted to put out in front of you as we could possibly look at expanding for that space.
Are any of those options included in the prices that you already gave us?
Some of them, yes. Now, just so you know, the price that we look at for fixed seating is around $125 to $150 a seat. That's how much those theater seats cost. Now, if we look at something like up in the upper right-hand corner that actually pushes back, that number you're looking at about $175 to $200 a seat. They're not as comfortable to sit in, but when you weigh the flexibility of that space, that you're not being able to use it, it tends to offset somewhat.
One aspect that I think is interesting about these pictures, top center and top right is the same. That's the same space. On the top right, those chairs are extended, and in the top center, those chairs are back into the wall, and that's that same space. And so you can see how that looks different.
And then this space on the lower right hand, these are all fixed seats on the lower portion, and then the mezzanine above, there's a movable partition that comes across that half wall, and all those seats telegraph back, and it's one large classroom. Or they use it, I think they use it for wrestling practice. So another piece of this that we wanted to introduce as a possibility is technology. So again, for Raytown High School, we're looking at upgrading their sound system, their lighting system to bring that theater into more of a modern era. Now with an addition like this and a renovation, there's other pieces that we can also talk about, not necessarily incorporate now, but should be part of the conversation. And one of those is training seminars, speaking, it becomes a multi-purpose space like I just discussed, flexible fixed seating, and then there's also an aspect of e-gaming. This is something that's becoming increasingly popular with youth today. So it ranges from players coming in to sit in front and they play and other people watch them. It's also interactive where they all come in and play together on one format. But as part of this, the addition of added technology in A&B is a crucial component that needs to be considered. That's something that we could wire for, not necessarily install the large screens right now, but we could program for it for a future install.
Normally, I would say, you mentioned e-gaming, I would say it's nonsense, but post-secondary schools are into this and forming e-sports, offering scholarships for those things, and it's not a nonsense thing. What is the maximum seating capacity on all of these options?
So right now, South High School is between 800 and 850, I believe, and that's about the same as what Raytown High would be. We didn't go much above that, honestly. Speaking to those theater directors and principals, that's the maximum, and if not, they would want to go a little bit smaller for production size. Now, if you put e-gaming in,
How many seats are in South High Auditorium right now?
it's around 800.
So the options are leaving us about the same seating capacity.
Like I said, the principals and the folks at South High have expressed they would actually like a smaller, less seating in their venue, around 600 actually is what they would prefer. They talk about that it's never full, and then even when you have 300 people show up to watch a play, when they're spread out amongst 800 seats, to those performing, it still feels like an empty space. So they'd like it to be more intimate and smaller.
Additionally, that would give us more space for restrooms in that 11,000 foot.
And Sandy is, every high school is different. There's populations. Some schools have a couple thousand kids in them. I know that's a factor, but it seemed like we were talking about the trend is more of an intimate space in some of these.
It is. And that was one of the reasons that we wanted to talk about the flexible seating aspect of it. You can still create a multi-purpose space that you can use for something else.
And Mr. Moore, you may remember that one production, I believe last year at South High, where the audience came up onto the stage, right? If you did the level floor and movable seating, instead of coming up on the stage, they could come down to you, and perform. There's a lot of options with that level floor.
Would these options include portable staging for like orchestra pit and that kind of thing?
As far as movable things to bring in for them to sit on, or just an area?
Well, I'm guessing you wouldn't want to build a permanent orchestra pit, but if there was staging that would be portable or something.
So that's one thing that we were looking at for Raytown High School, was creating a space in front of their stage for the orchestra pit to be able to sit. Whereas right now, it's very difficult for them to fit in that space, yes.
The size of the new auxiliary gym, is that just a typical, you just selected a something that you've done before?
That is a typical size for an auxiliary gym. Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
And the numbers, the estimates, are they mostly based on square footage?
That is a square footage cost, yes. So we've done performing arts centers, a few over the last several years. The numbers that we're showing you are based on one that we're actually working on in Liberty right now. For the brand new 16,000 square foot number that I'm showing you, that's about $405 a square foot.
And I understand that the location of the new auditorium and auxiliary gym, I know there's a grade there on the east side, but with the consideration of both, the option 4, I guess we probably could still consider some other things, some other efficiencies as far as cost and even appearance. I was thinking, after I saw it, I was thinking like the gym, the auxiliary gym beside the other gym and the theater out front.
Absolutely, that is a possibility that we could do. This is purely just for concept to give you an idea of what it could look like. As far as shifting that auxiliary gym back towards that stair tower that's on the north side of the existing gym, yes, there is a grade level change there. That would be fairly minimal for us to be able to shift into that area. We're just looking for minimal impact on the site right now. That is the most level and adjacent to the auditorium. That doesn't mean it can't slide back. It absolutely could.
And maybe possibility of the existing gym being the auxiliary gym? Is that too large of a space for an auxiliary gym?
It's pretty big for auxiliary, yes. You'd want to build another full-size gym if you're going to call that your auxiliary gym.
Yep, well, I was just thinking
Yeah.
about the grade that goes down, it could probably be like a stadium type.
Oh, to be able to, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that slope seating,
Yeah.
possibly, yes.
And, well, I saw that to say, the 14 million, maybe if we were to consider that all option 4, we might even get even better than.
To try to rework some of those spaces, you mean?
Yeah.
So one thing to know about the gym, we did go in and investigate the walls that are in there right now to verify that they were not deteriorating like the auditorium, and they're not. It's a different type of construction, it's a different roof structure, so there is a possibility that we could renovate that space in a different way and use it for something else.
I'm going to ask a question, just lost something there. In 50 years, this is a 50-year building, right? So that's 2069, is that right?
63. 59.
Whatever it is.
60
What's the
years.
math? Yeah. But the question I've got is, and I don't know if you can answer it, but I think we need to think about, we're talking about 50-year buildings. When you look at the advancement in technology, the things that are going on virtually, where you can create your own play, your own audience, and the like. I'm not suggesting that is an avenue, but it seems that we need to think out 10, 20 years, project out into the kind of venues that may be available, if that's possible. And I don't know, you all are more energetic and understanding of that than I am, but the School of Future, we're going to have a 50-year-old building where people are going to do plays and do costumes, or they're going to do it virtually. And if they do it virtually, what is that, 10 years? I don't know, but I'm just thinking that that's something to think about. It's not criticism, but it's worth driving by and sort of thinking about. Does that make sense? I don't know who's doing it. I mean, I don't know, I can't try to think of any high school in the world that, I mean, America doesn't have an auditorium, but with the cost of construction and the use of virtual tools, I never know where that might go.
I'm guessing our fine arts people that are on the ground right now would have the most input.
Sure.
You know, they have our theater arts, our choral people, all that stuff.
So
They're on the cutting edge and
So,
all that.
which gets us to a point where what we would ask for your approval, not necessarily an action item, is to move into the design phase of this so that we can have the design ready when we decide it's time or if it's needed because the structure begins to fail.
And that was the point of the conversation tonight, is just to get it started.
Okay.
Where it's going to end up, we don't know, but to at least get it started, bring the right people to the table to start the design discussion, and then eventually get it back to, after all these voices have been heard, avenues have been traveled, and maybe we'll come up with a design.
Are you doing several designs? Are you trying to pick one design, or
I think.
what's the next step?
Well, I think from what we've heard from the board tonight, we've got several things that we need to look at and incorporate. And, you know, as far as getting with our architects, I think Sandy understands she's heard what's been said tonight, so it'll be more than one. And it depends on what we hear from our folks at the ground level. I'm interested to hear them answer the question that you just asked, where that's going, because they'll know more than what we know.
So, just curious, do we have money in the budget to address this now, or what are we looking at 2 years from now?
Well, that's where we'll have to get creative. We think we can find monies in the budget with, as far as money we're saving on bid projects at the bond that we're in, where we don't spend all the contingency money and the premiums come in. We think we can get close. We don't know, because we're only a year into this. But at the same time, we want to get it started to where we can get it out there, start looking at it, and it may be where we have to do some creative financing as far as value construction, lease, if we have to get to lease purchase, and it all depends on whether or not we need it right then as well. But if we don't have something ready to go, we're at least, what, Sandy, a year, 2 years behind in getting this thing out there.
Yeah, the design process you mentioned, that takes 8 to 9 months to be able to design and sit with groups and committees and staff and students to get all the feedback on how we can design this properly, then the time it takes for us to draw it. So all that time added, you're getting very close to a year time frame, and then you have construction time. So when you start to look at that as one solid block, and then we have a failure possibly, or we need to go ahead and start immediately, that's a lot of downtime for the school to be without an auditorium.
Okay.
So I think that's what Dr. Mark is
And we know
is
if
getting started.
we get to the point to where, okay, we're going to start over, we know we're a year, 18 months out where we're not going to have use of that facility. We're going to have to make some adjustments, but we don't want it to be 2 years or 3 years because it's failed and we weren't ready to go.
So tonight, you're wanting us to choose an option?
No.
No
I want you to choose an option. We're just bringing you up to speed and getting the board's feedback on moving forward, getting the architects to start the process of planning this out.
Okay, I'm still a little bit fuzzy here. So tonight, we're going to say yes to the design process. Then which design are we choosing? Is just a flat design or what?
We're just starting the design process as it is, not necessarily. You got those parameters up there. It's going to be inside those parameters with any new information that we can find from our staff and the input that they've got. We've just kind of given you, here's the bottom, 7 million is the bottom one, the 14 plus million is the big ask. So we have the two right there. And we're going to try to fit that in between.
And as you go along, those numbers will become more concrete, and decision-making will be easier to determine which one's best. Just like now, I think seeing that option 2 was less, then that almost is not an option, option 1, I would think. So now we know that, but we don't have to choose the options now. We can, once we gather more information of needs and wants, and budget and schedule. But we do need to start the process preliminarily. We need to start the process because we have a wall that's failing.
Are those budget estimates based on what you think it would be 2 years down the road when construction is underway?
That is something that I'm glad you brought up. These do not include inflation. So these are based on 2019 and slight 2020 numbers. So several more years, we would have some inflation costs added into this.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
These do not include inflation. These are 2019/2020 numbers, so there would be inflation added on.
One good thing, though, is none of these numbers would be what we're spending in total, because we've already set aside money for new restrooms and for renovating the auditorium. So how much is that
About 1.75.
1.7.
Yeah.
total?
For the restroom and the renovations. The restrooms was $475 for the restrooms.
About 1.3.
So we could subtract about 2 million from any of those numbers.
What do we spend
Except
on
how much have
short-term
we,
solution?
yeah.
100 and.
What was the question?
The short term, the lean, the dead man system.
It was 86,000.
No, it was, I think it was 120 something.
Oh, it was 126.
Yeah, 126. We had to add some horizontal bracing to get it approved by the engineers to allow us to use it.
Candy, that option for, can you just clarify for me, is that 14,000, is that with the cost?
14 million.
14 million, I wish. I wish.
We would go for that one.
Is that include the actual building of the auxiliary gym or just the ability to add on later?
That is the building.
Okay, thank you.
We get started.
Do we need to vote on it or anything?
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it, unless there's any questions.
Questions
I
for
have
Dr.
a
Markley?
question. I had a question, Mr. President. On 8.11, change orders on bond projects.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is about the roofs at some of the buildings. When realistically do you expect to have those? I know you want to have them done before, as soon as possible, but realistically, what is the date of completion?
So each roof's a little different. The one on Blue Ridge, for example, is much more involved. I'm sure you noticed when you went by there to read the kids. We're also doing new trails, coating, for example. We're doing, at like new trails, it's basically a coating that goes pretty quick. Whereas at Blue Ridge, we tear off and replace it. They have until April to
Yes.
finish, don't they?
Yeah, and so with a lot of those, especially the coatings, there has to be a certain temperature outside in order for them to apply that coating. So that's why they're trying to put those on now before it gets too cold. If it's anything below 40 degrees on the surface of the roof, it won't set up properly. So we'll have a little bit of a break on some of those, and then Fleet Ridge they're going to do in the spring when it warms up a little bit. But Blue Ridge, they should be completing that probably in the next month and a half. We'll be finished with that.
And New Trails was almost done.
They're almost done with New
Yeah.
Trails. Yeah, that was a really quick, yeah. And Norfleet is also, that one will take a few weeks, and they'll be complete.
And Three Trails is already complete.
Mhm.
And we're doing some work at South Middle as well. But that's partially inclusive of the addition for Vander.
But you mean complete, like Blue Ridge, Norfleet, Fleet Ridge, complete to that point and then come back in the spring and?
Yep.
No,
When I say complete, they're done. So when we
Completely
put
done.
those bid packages out, we allowed them a longer period to get the time, to get the work done, which helped our cost on the end. So that's why we're getting some done now while school's in session. We'll take a break for those heavy winter months, and then we'll come back in the spring and finish. But that was a requirement for part of the bids, they have to be done before we start looking at doing roofs for next year.
So those aren't change orders, they were projects.
Those are projects.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, on the change order document, there are change orders that come with them, but yes, we have several projects, or several roofs, a roof package, if you will, and different contractors doing different roofs,
So use these cards, get around to the schools and see what's going on. I will say, it reminds me that, just for one example, the vestibule project at South High, it looks fantastic. You don't even realize that anything happened there. It just looks like it was part of the original structure. So we like it when it looks like that.
Great, thank you.
If any of you ever want to go looking around, give me a call, email me, I'll be happy to go look at some of this stuff anytime you want.
All right, how about Educational Foundation report?
Mr. President,
Yes.
the Education Foundation Board met September 25th, and this is kind of some of the highlights of their meeting. They do a lot, in fact, they're there to support our students and our schools, and this past Saturday, they had the Run for Excellence, which was the first cold day we've had, but I don't think it deteriorated away from any of the runners. They seemed to do okay. Some of us that were standing on the corners got a little cold, but anyway, that was, I don't know the total outcome of the money they made, but it seemed to be well attended and everybody had a good time. The thing that's going on right now as a fundraiser is the grocery grab, Constantino's grocery grab. They're $5 a ticket, and that $5 gives you a coupon that you can use towards buying groceries. So it's a win-win, you don't lose your money, and then you might get the opportunity to be one of the top 3 winners and get to go in to one of their stores and grab all the groceries you can take off the shelf. And Dr. Shelton's a good example of how that works. Or you might be one of the 5 $100 winners at each one of the stores. So, yes, I do have those to sell. Dr. Markley's selling Mother, and I think Martha's back there, she'll sell you some. You have plenty of chances to get that $5 entry thing. The Chamber Luncheon this year, this month, the Education Foundation will be the sponsor of that, and Dr. Markley is going to share the quality schools up, whatever's going on in schools, I guess, that's what it says right there. Student recognitions, the 2 high schools had their Twister celebration recently, and dual credit scholarships. The high school scholarships application were due October the 1st. They're in the process of going through those and awarding the scholarships, and those scholarships are tuition reimbursement that pays approximately 1/3 of the cost for the dual credit courses that our students are taking. So they will be in, those that get the scholarship will be in reimbursed that. And if you want to know what's going on, go to the digital newsletter on their website. And that's it, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions about that? Finance Committee meeting minutes are there. Anything you want to say about that?
We had a finance committee meeting on September 9th at 4 o'clock right here in the boardroom. Had a great meeting. We talked about a lot of different things, but a few of the highlights, we obviously discussed expense revenues. We talked about the assessed valuation. We discussed the upcoming tax rate hearing that occurred on September 23rd. We also discussed the fact that the auditor was going to be here the week of September 16th. And you can see from the moment, we have some policies that are coming up for consideration by the board. Our next meeting is scheduled for December the 9th. I encourage everyone to attend. It'll be 4 o'clock right here in the boardroom.
I like the way you published your minutes. I like that. It's very easy to look at.
Thank you. Under the recommendation of Mr. Tody, we've restructured some items in the agenda and how we hold the meetings and report back to the minutes. So, and now I'm going to give Jackie Vernon credit. She takes all the minutes and produces this document. So.
Well, I noticed it. You said that in regard to our buses, you said we have an aging fleet of buses.
Yes, we do.
And I know that, but I have been watching the buses a lot. I've always watched the buses, but they are always clean. The buses that I see on Raytown Road, 67th, 63rd, they are clean. And it doesn't matter, I mean, the age matters, but the fact that they, when they're driving down the road and they say Raytown and they're clean, That matters a lot. So I'm assuming they're clean on the inside too.
They start out the day that way, and the bus drivers get them that way again by the end of the day.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, I know.
We have a wonderful maintenance crew, two or three mechanics that take good care of the mechanical needs. We have the blessing of indoor parking
Yes.
for our buses, which there aren't many school districts around the area that have that luxury. And then as Dr. Hux mentioned, our drivers do a great job of taking great pride in the buses they drive.
Curriculum and Professional Development Committee meeting.
Yes, we had a good meeting with a few board members. Thanks for coming and providing great inspiration for us. We reviewed the curriculum and instruction goals. We also went over the curriculum writing process. Our CNI staff and teachers spent a substantial amount of time this summer rewriting curriculum into a new format that we have. And over the next few years, we'll have all of the curriculum written and posted in such a way that it's easily accessible for teachers, and there's a continuity of format throughout all of it, and obviously referencing back to Missouri State standards as well as ACT standards. We also gave a little update on a meeting that we had held earlier on this year with parents about modifying our middle school classes that are awarded high school credit. And really we are in information gathering phase, and because we had a lot of good input from parents and decided that we needed to slow down a little bit and get a lot more input. Then we also talked about some discipline recommendations that were given by the Citizen Advisory Committee. You notice even on the agenda today, the final version of that CAC discipline document is there, and that's going to be a guiding document for us for the next several years as we look at what we should do to provide the very best environment for all of our students. Next meeting is coming up January 13th, 4 o'clock. We'll meet over in the Finance Conference Room.
Any questions for Dr. Huff? A motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the October 14, 2019 consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Please vote on that item. We really do appreciate all the donations that come in on a regular basis. Let me try to read quickly through these. We have several again this month. Spring Valley from Ashley Daniels, $850 worth of clothing. From Hope Network for Spring Valley, $250 for staff supply closet. Again for Spring Valley, Sarah and Aaron Norman, $60 winter knitted hats. Spring Valley from Fox 4 Love Fund, $1,785 worth of backpacks and supplies. From Word of Grace Fellowship, $1,500 worth of backpacks and supplies. REAP, again for Spring Valley, $500 with clothes and stuffed animals. Raytown High End Zone Club from Educational Foundation, a $300 silver sponsor. New Trails from Blue Ridge Optimist Club, $250 worth of supplies. Hope Network to New Trails, $200 Amazon gift card and supplies. District from Marguerite McNair, DAR, that's Daughters of American Revolution, Raytown chapter. Is that correct? $50 worth of bookmarks for Constitution Week. Eastwood from GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, $500 worth of school supplies. Herndon Career Center from Greater Kansas City Restaurant Association, $3,000 worth of china, glassware, silverware, and cookware. That's pretty neat donation there. All right, appreciate all those. All right. Next item. Board goals. We've been working on this for a little while, and we have the most updated draft. Walter, do you want to mention something, or do you want to speak to this?
Sure. I actually went to one of the sessions at the MSBA conference that talked about goals. And I got comments from a couple board members to put together the draft. I think we all thought that we could shorten it and be more concise in our wording as far as more, and leave a little bit more to our administration and our staff to determine how we're gonna reach those goals. So the mission and vision values, that's something that I was just perusing our website and tried to use some of the words there. I think I was trying to look for something that we all could be one voice on, that we all could agree on who we are and what we're trying to do. The 4 goals are really incorporated all the points of our 8 goals that we had previously. I don't know if we need the bullet points after each one of the goals in our, whatever our postings are. I think that would be something, I thought it would be something more, something everyone could remember, something that we all could grasp and put a handle on. Continuous improvement in all areas of student achievement. You know, we have, in our goals we had certain, talked about the measures of the state and things like that, which you'll see that in the bullet point. But I think regardless of what the measures are, we want to constantly improve, of course. And what I did, and I'm looking for more feedback as far as, you know, of course this is a draft, but I thought it was interesting that we put the 2-year technology plan on there, and just discussing it with Beth, she was like, maybe we should have a 2-year plan from each department, because not that technology is not important and doesn't contribute to student achievement, but so does transportation. And to list that on the goals, I mean, it might imply something that something's more important than the other. And then as far as number 2, I think each board member talked about our culture and creating and maintaining where everyone's valued in this community. But that was one that we didn't have any bullet points to support it, any direction on how we're going to get there. I think that's something that maybe we should look at. And number 3, strive to become a district of choice for the metropolitan area as far as for staff, especially certified staff. We have some talk. I thought attraction and recruitment would be 2 different words. Attraction meaning regardless of our recruitment of someone, they would know about us. I think Raytown is a great secret. Just from being on the board these last few months, I've been kind of like amazed at what I didn't know. Recruitment, I think we need to be more intentional in regards to like not necessarily just certain groups, but maybe individuals. Like I've toured several departments and talked, and one thing that's always been said is, man, districts take our people all the time. We train them up well and they take them. I bet you they know exactly who to come get. And I don't know, we might not want to play that game, but I think that's the game. And retention. And I put diverse staff. The second bullet point talks about the percentage of minorities. And we said 20%, 25%. And I've been trying to look up what percentage of teachers are minorities. And I know at the state conference, I heard that 6% of teachers are black. And we're talking about getting 25% minorities in our hiring for a year. I don't know that that's realistic. I think attracting them, I think we got some great minority teachers in our district that we could use for recruitment. That I don't know, I'm sure they got enough work to do, but they're and retaining them. I think we need to talk to them. I don't know, and I'm not saying we're not. I'm just saying that was something that came up at the state conference about just hiring minorities. Is that with so few, a lower percentage, they actually want to have to come to want to be in your district. They have to choose your district over another district. And minorities go where they feel safe, where they feel wanted, where they feel recruited, where they feel retained. And I think we have all those elements, but I don't know about that number. I think 10% might be and not that we achieve 10% and, okay, well, we got enough. No, just if we want to put a number on it, let's have a goal that we can attain, and then attain that goal, and then next year attain another goal, and then assure a clean, safe environment. I think that's highly critical in these times. And so, but anyway, there's just 4 goals, but I tried to encapsulate everything that was mentioned before. Sorry for the late submission, but you guys didn't get much chance to read it, but I'm sure.
I think it's a good start on this, and it's a good draft, and combine it down, and regardless if we're still looking at this and cleaning this up a little bit, I mean, we still have the administration's work and the goals Dr. Markley shared with us and everything before, so that's ongoing. So up to the board whether we want to hash these final words out right now, or do you want to carry it over to next month so we have more time to take a look at this and have some final comments.
Mr. President, I'd like to carry it over because I love it. I love that it's shortened. I love that there are fewer goals and that the wording in the goals is shortened, because if you pictured this on a poster on the wall, you could probably remember all 4 of them after you read them a few times. I'd like to carry it over because Dr. Markley mentioned last time that we're going to be discussing in November information that goes with number 1, with our student achievement, right, Dr. Markley? So I don't know. I mean, we can make it just improve student achievement or increase student achievement, but I think we probably need to talk about it again next month.
Talk about it, yes, but if we're going to carry it over, if you have stuff, you need to be giving it to Beth Alonzo and maybe copy me too, so we can get a finalized document in front of us by next month. I mean, we don't want to just keep carrying it over, so.
I personally did not like this choice that was done, 2 people looking at it and coming up with what you recommended and consolidating your thoughts into perhaps their thoughts. So
these weren't mine. These weren't
no,
mine.
no, I didn't say you. I was talking about the individuals that were chosen to consolidate or to bring the goals together. So I would like for us to, I still think that it is something that is viable, that we should, this is a working document that we should work on, and not 2 people working on the document for us. I think it should be a board work, not a 2-member board work.
However you guys want to do it. They just volunteered to do it. I didn't want, so anyone can do this, so.
Yeah, I think it should be carried over. I by no means thought that, I tried to encapsulate what was said, but I think we all need, it should be carried over just so we're all on the same page, and all the other goals that Dr. Markley and anyone else may have, that we should have something that we all can communicate and know.
Yeah, I think carryover is fine too, but if we're gonna carry over, we need to be having the input. So if we have anything that you want to do differently or have it worded differently, we need to have that information.
Do you want that sent to you?
I would send it to, does anybody else want to be actively involved with this besides Beth and Alonzo? I asked for some people to help do this, so I wasn't doing it all by myself.
And they volunteered and then asked for our input.
Yeah, so does anybody want to join them on doing that? But that doesn't cut down or eliminate anyone's input at all. It just helps to get the document completed. Or do you want to just hash it out right now?
Mr. President, I think you've got a very good option in Amy and carrying over, and Mrs. Salisbury said that we need to, us put in our input. Right now, there's a couple of things I might be thinking of, but I don't know if I'm far enough along in my thinking to say, okay, that should be number 5, that should go in number 2, but given time to talk about it next time, then I can put them where I want to, or bring them back. If I need to send it to Alonzo and Beth, I can do that and copy you and Rachel or whatever, but I think the carryover idea is a better option than trying to hash through it right now, because we haven't had time to,
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And again, there's the wordsmiths. Those are just the wordsmiths here. It's input from all of us on this, so. Beth, any comments?
I would welcome all suggestions, so, I mean, I want to include everybody and all ideas, so.
Dr. Markley, any comments? I think
You guys have a process moving forward.
all right. Anything else?
Thank you for doing this.
Next item. Video recording board meetings.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education meetings be video recorded.
Is there a second?
Turn them on.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, and the reason it's on here is to just make it more official what we've been doing on a testing basis, so the board can be on record. That's what we want to do, because this basically was just brought forth as a testing, and we never actually dealt with it formally. So what discussion, if any, is there on this motion?
the only question I would have, and I was talking about this at retired teachers today, and they said, oh, when can we go on and see them? Will it be on tomorrow, or does it take a little while to edit them and get them? Tonight's meeting, when would it be on there?
It'll take a little while to get it edited. There's also board input in whether or not the board would like to see the video beforehand and approve of the videos once they're edited, which would factor into the timeline. I can go more into why it takes time if the board would like to know, but my goal in the beginning of this project, I think as I stated in August, would be to have it done and posted by the end of a week in which we had a board meeting.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to push how fast, they said when, I said, I don't know, sometime.
Plan would be, we need to upgrade our equipment, Danielle's equipment, as far as the downloading and processing. The technology would be doing that, where it would be easier to do. We improve the time frame.
Thank you.
And like the presentation, you know, that we're going over there on the side of the room tonight, are they going to be picked up by the microphones and stuff?
Yes, everything is recorded. The field mic that's sitting in front of Mr. Landers picks up sound from the room. So even me sitting back here and talking, I can hear myself in my ear right now.
Can you turn the camera around to yourself right now so we can see who's talking?
That would be a little, John set the height a little high for me to capture myself. But I can hear myself, and that picks up the room, and it supplements even if a board member doesn't use one of the microphones. That's my other ear that I can try and hear and see where the sound's coming from.
Mr. President, should we be specifying that this will be video recording of open session board meetings? Because we're not recording closed session, correct?
Correct.
Or is that just assumed?
Yeah, I don't know that it's a simple, I think in the motion, it would probably make some sense to include this open session.
I'd
You
like
made
to
the
amend
motion.
my motion.
Move that the Board of Education's meetings video recordings be published and posted on the district website for public viewing.
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments about how that would look? Or
Do we need to amend that to say again, our open session minute meetings or board meetings?
No, I don't think so, because that's the only ones that will be recorded. We're good, I think we need to. Okay.
So again, I would just like for clarification on to whether or not the board will approve videos before they are posted. If not, there is a dedicated YouTube playlist for board videos in which they will be uploaded to YouTube. I've created a template using the same software that we use for our patron update and quality update newsletters. And so a link to YouTube will be included within that specialized board quality update template once they're live on YouTube. And then under Board of Education on the district websites, we can also have a link back to the YouTube channel for viewing of the videos. YouTube just makes the videos kind of, it's storage off of our district storage, and it makes them kind of easier accessible and shareable as well.
If the board were to review and approve, that would take up some of the time of releasing it to the public, right?
That would take some of the time. I know last month or the month before, we talked about board doing approvals and that counting as a meeting, even if it's digital. So I don't know how that would work, if the board would have to approve a video the following month, which would involve a lagging time in that being published.
It would
And
almost
that's
make it,
it might create too, is if we had someone Sunshine request the videos, we couldn't release it until the board approved it. So I don't know if the board needs to, my recommendation would be the board doesn't need to approve it.
I agree
We're not
with
saying
that.
anything in here.
And I echo
Do you
your
want to see
point.
it again?
It's probably a bad precedent to have the opportunity to edit your video from a Sunshine perspective, I would think. Right, Counselor? I mean, aren't there some rules about if we get Sunshine for a video, we want to make certain that it's the non-edited version?
It needs to reflect the full events, the full meeting that occurs in open session.
And that's where a cost would be incurred, going back and having to download that onto is for someone that they'd have a choice. They could have the unedited or the one that's posted to the district website, whichever one.
why would we edit it though?
The video for August and September 9th board meetings, which you saw, the only thing I did is our title card in front of it. There was disclaimer text about contacting, and I cleaned up some of the audio. Just talking about audio briefly, you have that microphone, you all have your microphones, and I will listen to the videos to see which microphone picks up the best audio and splice that audio so that you're getting the best sound between the two different channels that we're using.
So there was no content editing?
There was no content editing in those videos.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
you are here and you see this meeting.
Right.
And then you have to watch it again to edit.
Yes.
Well, kudos to you.
Yeah, it gets a little boring.
I didn't even watch it.
For that?
Well, I think the editing is just dealing basically with the volume of the speakers, right?
Yes. When initially talking to legal, if there was ever anything that, say, was a closed session statement that was shared in open session, the reason why we came up with this disclaimer text was so that I had a right to edit it out before it was posted. And then if there was any sunshine law request or for any reason of that, then we could go forth. I can't think of any other test case. I guess if there were anyone who used a significant amount of profanity, that would be a reason why to edit it out, because YouTube would block that video. If our choir performs copyrighted music, that would be something that we might have to edit out, because YouTube will bring that down just due to these terms and conditions that you have to subscribe to when using YouTube.
I had a question. So we sometimes have students performing. Is there any issue with having the kids shared out there as far as that's concerned?
We contact students before there, and so just letting them know that this is and their families know that this is video recorded will be a part of that contact.
Excellent.
Any other questions or comments? Please vote on the item. All right, board policies. What?
I need to change it.
Board policies. Information item. It's in for the first read.
No.
It's under first
There
read.
you go.
So these are first read?
No.
No, it should say action.
Yeah, exactly.
I just fixed it.
Okay, so I'd entertain a motion to approve this.
Mr. President, I move that the board adopt policies BCB, board officers, BCC, appointed board officials, BDD, agendas, BDG, R1, board meeting minutes, DA, physical responsibility, DFA, revenues from investments, use of surplus funds, EBBA, illness and injury response and prevention, GBCB, staff conduct, GBCBC, staff absence and tardiness, JEC, school admissions, JGGA, seclusions, isolations and restraint, and KK, visitors to district property events.
Second.
Motion is second. Was there a policy committee?
This is all coming from the recommendations of the policy committee.
Any comments or any questions? All right, new business. Is there a motion to approve professional learning school improvement?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education accept the professional learning and school improvement program evaluation as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
I had a question.
Still.
Guess this is to Dr. Hunt. Okay, so I assume the building principal makes these plans with help from staff.
It's actually typically the other way around.
Oh, okay.
And I'd like to acknowledge Marilyn Cannon and Andrew Mixon, who put the yeoman's work into this. They did a great job. But we have actually transitioned away from building principals taking the lead. And Marilyn Cannon does a great job of working with our CPL teams, and that's the CPL chair at each one of our buildings, to lead the charge in writing those plans, because really the professional development money is teacher money. And so given the overall goals of the building, of the district, we try to write those plans encompassing that, what the building sees as their internal needs, as well as reflective of what our overall district needs are. So obviously the principal plays a big role in this, but we want the teachers to really take the lead.
So then, when it comes time for teacher evaluations, and do the principals use this some of the basis for their evaluation, and then do administrators use this when they evaluate principals?
Okay, so as far as the CPL plans go, I assume you're talking about the CPL plans?
Yes.
Okay. The evaluations are based typically on 2 goals. Each one of our teachers have 2 goals. And, they made those goals maybe building specific, they may be district specific. Typically the goals are around things like student achievement, that sort of thing. Not typically completely related to the CPL. Unlike in years past, and I'm talking, we've been doing this for quite some number of years, but we don't evaluate the whole teacher really anymore. We evaluate the 2 main goals. The teacher builds these goals as to what they want to improve on this year, and they really focus on those particular goals, which may or may not be related to the CPL plan itself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. Marlene's looking like cringing at me.
Well, the professional growth plan is like that, but they are still looked at in their summative. So they are evaluated overall through their summative as well.
So each building really needs to know this plan.
Yes.
Absolutely. And now, the goal of writing these plans, obviously, is to make them living and breathing plans. That they're not something you just sit on a shelf, but they're used continuously. So as we put together, say, like the half days that we have, one of the half days of professional development training that we have is building specific. So we allow the buildings to drive what they do in their individual building PD. It needs to be reflected in their CPL. So they need to tell us what their goals are and then put together a plan that is reflective of those goals that's in the CPL.
But the principals are checking the teachers, administrators are checking the
Oh, it's a team
principals.
effort, no doubt. It is absolutely a team effort. But I will say that it used to be that it was almost top down. Like the principal said, this is what we're going to do. And sometimes the teachers appreciate that. Sometimes they didn't. We do believe that the teachers should drive this effort. I think it's a very strong message when everybody's on board with what we're doing.
I'm glad to hear that. I guess I just didn't realize it was so driven by the staff. That's good, that's good.
And again, Maryland Cannon does a great job of leading that group to, take a look at what our district goals are, our district C&I goals, and writes great plans. And she is just detailed in reviewing those plans and pointing out little things that need to be changed so that they are reflective.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Any other? Vote on. All right, is there a motion to approve monthly P-card review? This is the item moved from consent agenda. Need a motion to approve.
Mr. President, I move to approve the board member SLT monthly peak water review as presented.
And a second.
Second?
Is there any comments or discussion? No questions or comments? Let's vote on that item. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. President, I was going to make a comment or two.
Okay. All right. I thought you were going to comment on the motion.
No, I was going to comment on another matter.
All right.
So,
It needed to pertain to the motion, but go ahead.
okay. I've got a complex matter I'm going to discuss with you, and I've written my comments, and I know that I'm in front of the door, so I'll read them as quickly as I can. As you may recall, I made a motion on September 9 to hire a forensic investigator. The motion was tabled until tonight. The motion has caused significant anxiety within the district and community, so let me provide additional background and perspectives to assure that my motives are appropriate and in the public interest. When the Collins matter was revealed in May 1, I informed this board of my strong views that the administration should engage a forensic investigator. But I learned quickly that the administration was not supportive. So I decided to perform an investigation on my own time and expense. I have spent substantial time in conducting this work, engaged legal counsel at my expense for advice, and conducted various investigative procedures. During the period from September 9, I have become very close to finishing that work. I relied on my experience to perform this investigation. I started and led the forensic and litigation services practice for PricewaterhouseCoopers in Kansas City 25 years ago. As a CPA and partner, I conducted complex investigative work for major international businesses, which included analysis of intricate fraud schemes worth millions of dollars. While I would prefer that my work be reviewed by another professional, I'm confident that I now see the big picture and many of the details. I do not believe that the expenditure of district funds is required, since most of the work is essentially finished. There are a few unfinished matters and certain issues that remain unresolved. I will submit my notes, other information, and my professional opinion to the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee, of which I am a member, is charged with reviewing matters involving fraud and internal controls. We will review the information and report to the board. Additionally, there are a few staff interviews, 3 to 4, that are still open, and I've mentioned that to Dr. Shelton, that I think we should conduct those interviews. Those interviews should be performed with the Finance Committee members, Beth Plank and Rick Moore, and myself. Additionally, 1 or 2 board members should be interviewed, and I will ask Alonzo Burton to assist me. As the Finance Committee wraps up this work, the notion of the proverbial double standard will arise. Consistency of applying board policy uniformly is essential. It is important for our students, teachers, and public to have expectations that this committee will faithfully fulfill its responsibility and not make exceptions to policy when assessing actions of district leaders. It is important that we move quickly and decisively. Thank you.
All right, so as mentioned before, we will refer that item to the Finance Committee, which any board member can attend the Finance Committee meeting. So, all right, any other questions or comments? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. President, I move that the board adjourn the regular Board of Education meeting at 8:16 p.m.
Second?
All right, thank you, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
You have not.
That